This year, I don't know if it's already been said, but it's the 60th anniversary of the Race Relations Act. And, you know, it says it's a powerful reminder of the ongoing struggles for equality and justice and the tireless efforts of those who have fought for the rights of black people and communities. So, Uwem, your big thing is about storytelling. We're both educators, so we've got that in common. But your big thing is storytelling and how it can impact someone. So can you just let us know how you, on one occasion, we're going to try and keep it short, where you stood firm with power and pride.
I've got a couple of occasions where I've had to stand. In fact, all my life I've always had to do that. But I'm going to pick out one particular occasion where I have to stand firm, you know, power and pride. Pride held in mind, not arrogance, just pride. It was around the year 2000. I used to be a teacher in an inner city school in London. And they brought these group of young boys, and it was a boys' school. For those of you who've been to inner city schools, you know what I'm talking about, you know. And this group of young boys were streamed. They have this thing they call, you know, top set, middle set, upper set. And sometimes the criteria that they use in segregating, if I use that term, is not exactly very clear. It could be that a parent has just arrived from Africa, for example, or any part of the world, and that child is probably English not the first language, and they will put that child in the onset. Now that's very wrong, very, very wrong. Or the child has some sort of different need, they put that child in the onset. So I had this group of kids that gave to me in the onset, and I was to tutor them for about 5 years. And the way these kids were being treated was like, okay, it's compulsory, they must have education, so that's it, let's take the dogs, just for them to have education. But these are, you're talking about a future, you're talking about a generation, you're talking about generational wealth, you're talking about generational value that is going to be lost in a system of ticking boxes. If you understand what I'm saying, it's a very serious thing. And I said, no, this is not right. This is not right. So the first thing that came to me was, in my own capacity and position, what can I do to strengthen them, to make them understand that they are not just valuable, they are valued. So I had to audit their capabilities. Because I saw that stigma on them, they began to also act it out. They didn't take themselves seriously because the system did not take them seriously. So they began to act differently, you know, because the vibes you send out is how people react to you. So they began to be acting up and stuff, and I said no. So I had to put them down and audit their capabilities. What can you do? You must be good at something. Let's start from yourself. You find out that the fact that you don't speak English as a first language doesn't mean you are illiterate. It doesn't mean you're not smart. It doesn't mean you don't know anything. You could be a good artist. You could be a good mathematician. You could be a good geographer. It doesn't matter. But the fact that we're using the language of English as the medium of communication to categorize you doesn't make it right. You see? So I had to sit them down and audit their capabilities. And I found out that some of them were geniuses. Some of them were geographers. Some of them were artists. Some of them were set designers. And I began to hone in on their capabilities. That defined them. That gave them something to look forward to. That gave them a story to tell about themselves. They began to shift their perspective. They began to see themselves differently. So they didn't look at themselves as those people.
Sorry about that, people.
Is it for me?
Actually, no, it's
Okay.
workmen outside.
Alright.
Sorry.
So they didn't see themselves as those 𝗕𝗶𝘀 people now. They began to see themselves as a group of people with unique capabilities. And they began to zero in on their capabilities. And I remember a particular kid, Ramon, and he said, Mr. Man, I'm not good at anything. I said, no, that's not right. He said, I'm not good at anything, no master, no nothing. But I found out that he was such a good collaborator. When once you delegated a task to him, for him, he would execute it with all amount of diligence. And that was his unique capability. And I told him, son, this is what we will run with in life. A few years ago, just before COVID, my phone rings, and I pick up my phone. And he says, it's Mr. Umana, because I'm on the social network and stuff. I said, yes. He said, this is Julian Ham. I said, Julian? Julian Ham? So I was asking for Paul. He said, yes. Dr. Julian Ham. He said, I've been looking for you. I've been looking for you everywhere, Mr. Umana. I will fish you out from the social media. I got my PhD, and I dedicated it to you. That is to show you that when you stand firm in what you are, when you exhibit pride in what you are, at any time, any day, you can leverage it. I came to England in my 20s, I had my identity formed already. So I didn't struggle with identity. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of those people that come here and, I don't know whether I'm white or blue or whatever. No, I was formed in my identity. I'm solid in my identity. I don't get twisted whether I'm talking like you or not. No. Whether I'm eating your food or not. No. I'm me. I am thou. I know that. And that is what I transmitted to this group of young kids that were handed over to me. So that became a mandate for me. And today, majority of them are successful and still in touch with me. That is one clear example.
Thank you very much for that. I think we